Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cool Water Show, episode 9, our last single digits episode. I am Kari, and I think I just hit that intro video correctly for
You
the
did
first
it.
time. Ninth time is a charm. I am here with my co-host, Katie. Katie, what has it taken you 9 times to do right lately?
Oh, what hasn't it taken me 9 times to do right is a better question. It's kind of the story of my life.
It's like a cat, 9 lives. I'm on
Exactly.
that last one, and I am
Yeah.
making the most of it. Well, we had quite a week with the Housewives. We have Salt Lake City ending. We've got OCing, and we've got we're about to get into a fist fight over New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
So we are bi-coastal yet again, and setting up for the end of maybe an era in Salt Lake City. Did we see Mary for the last time?
I think we did. I think it's actually maybe confirmed that that's the last time we'll see her.
And she leaves the show with getting a glass thrown at her, which is only the second time in 2 seasons that a glass has been thrown.
2 out of 2. Yeah.
I don't think I've had that many glasses thrown at me in such a short amount of time. So applause there. That is
that's
sure.
Quite an accomplishment.
Way to go, Mary.
Yeah.
How do you feel about seeing Mary potentially for the last time?
I know we started off the season really low on Mary. Well, I guess we started high and then we got low. And I'm going back up high on Mary again, aside from all of the racism, obviously, of course, that should go without saying. But, obviously she's problematic. And I think her time has come. I think it makes sense that she's going to be gone. But she gives us good TV. Like, she really just she makes me laugh. Every time she interacts with Whitney and just doesn't have time for her, it just really gives me a good chuckle. And I'm going to miss her. And I'm 100% on her side with stupid ass Jenny. So I'm going to miss her. Although Jenny's gone too. So
yeah,
whatever. But
I do feel like, I don't know if I've considered it enough. I was thinking about it earlier today that I don't know if Mary is catching enough, I don't want to say heat, but I don't have a better word for it, that as like Jenny is catching a lot because she had these Facebook posts or whatever. But Mary has more or less said the same things that Jenny has posted on Facebook, including about Black people, and she is Black. And so,
yeah, that is true.
I mean, there's a reason that when I think like shit's gonna go down at work, I don't commit anything to like email because I don't want it to get screenshot and sent around. Similar, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not implying I'm saying racist shit at work. I'm saying like, just if
I know
something I don't want to say.
Totally.
I don't want to commit to that, never, or like the eternal screenshot, right? That I was just thinking, I'm like, is Mary kind of getting away with having very similar views to Jenny just because she's said them out loud, and it's harder to pick up on that in the moment because you really have to watch a show to see that, versus it's very easy to just like catch a screenshot or scroll through Reddit and have like this show up in your face, or even on Twitter, because like someone that liked this, and it's like, oh wow, there's like a racist person. I mean, we even had like people who listened to our show for the first time a couple weeks ago be like, wait, tell us what happened again, like why is this, so like I was thinking about that earlier.
Yeah, well, I think as the wise prophet Dorinda Medley once said, say it, forget it, write it, regret it. That's all I can say.
Now? Like,
yeah, that's all there is to say. I think you're absolutely right. I think Dorinda would agree with you. I think you're right. I think, it was, a lot of it was said in passing under her breath. I think, it didn't seem as intentional from Mary. Not that that's an excuse. They felt like more of like microaggressions from Mary, which are never okay. But from Jenny, it was so deliberate. Like, she deliberately hit share on these posts that were so hateful and disgusting. Mary's there, I don't want to downplay it because they were disgusting remarks that she made multiple times over and over, but it didn't feel like she was as intentional with it, which maybe is worse. Like, is casual racism worse than, or the same? I mean, I don't know, it's all bad. I think but you're right. I don't think that people have given Mary enough heat. And I think Mary was getting a lot of heat, and then Jenny swooped in and took it all because her posts were just so awful that it kind of just like took all the attention off of Mary. And then we were all, I don't think it helped that it was Mary versus Jenny in the season. And it was so like fresh what happened with Jenny that we were all hating on Jenny, at least we all meaning really me. So it's like, I think that put Mary in like a more favorable light because it felt like some of that feud was coming from a place of malintent from Jenny's side.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think you've summed it up perfectly. That was just something I was casually thinking about as I've spent my President's Day only watching different, I think I've watched 2 different Real Housewives series, but like 4 in the last 24 hours. So, just me, the presidents, and the housewives today on this bank holiday.
Yep. Thank you to the presidents.
Shout out Obama. Follows me on Twitter. So
same.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
That's like one of my like claims to fame. Is like my students think it's like one of the coolest things that Barack Obama follows me on Twitter. First, they don't believe me. I'm like, if I was gonna lie about something, like why would I lie about something that's so easy to check?
Right. But I don't know why this man decided to just like follow everybody back that followed him back in the day when it was became a thing, but he never unfollowed me. So I like to believe that Barack Obama is reading some of my Housewives or Big Brother takes here and there.
I've caught myself a couple times thinking like, yo, there's a chance that Barack Obama is saying the dumb shit I'm saying today. And I've said some dumb shit on Twitter.
Yeah, it's big same. So I'm just picturing him scrolling through his Twitter feed being like, what's a mini? Why is people talking about?
Why is she tweeting about air fryer minutes? Which to be fair, I stand by that statement. So anyway, well, in typical fashion of like a last episode for a Housewives season, we kind of get a little bit of everyone, and then we get the party or the event that brings them together. Very classic structure for a last episode. So we bounce around from housewife to housewife. We see Jen downsizing. Well, first we see Lisa setting up. I should mention this because this directly ties into the gift that I picked for today's tweet. We see Lisa setting up for her Vita party, which I wrote in my notes, what is Vita? Because I didn't realize that it was her like alcohol brand.
Vita Tequila.
Yeah, I mean, it came together for me later, but I just didn't go back and erase that note. I let my stupidity just kind of sit there. But they show a montage of Lisa just being like, I love it. I love it. Oh, I love it.
Amazing.
I love it. It's great. I love it. I don't just like it. I love it.
Amazing. And they had a little counter. I should have written down how many times she actually said it, but they did add a little counter. I think it said love it and then hate it. And it was like, obviously, all love it. No, hate it.
So hence the gift for today. When I saw that was one, I had to go for it.
I piled on with another I love it gif.
Oh, better. Lisa. I mean, our count versus her count, we are much lower. We have the amplifiers.
We are much lower. Much lower.
But after we get Jen Shah and her talking to the movers about the cost of moving from her 9,000 foot square home to her mere 4,500 square foot. That's what I'm calling it, square feet from now on, home. And all I wrote was, I'm downsizing, with like 19 A's, because that's what it sounded like.
Yeah, that is what it sounded like. And I also thought it was kind of hilarious that she's just like spilling this all to these movers, which like, why do these move? It seemed like they did know each other, probably because Jen and Coach Shah move from rental house to rental house to rental house quite often. So they know them by now. But yeah, I just thought that was bizarre that these movers are just like, okay, yep.
So speaking of bizarre, I felt like Jen Shah gave us like an inclination that she's guilty with something that she said in this part.
I felt the same way too.
When she goes, it's the last everything I have with my family this year. I was like, just put up your hand and like put that on a testimony, like under oath, because are you kind of owning that you're going to jail for a long time in this statement?
It seemed that way to me, or at least like she seemed to heavily expect that she's going to be found guilty. And the news that's come out this week, it sounds like all of the other co-defendants have pled guilty. And Jen is the only one going to trial for this. Everybody else has pled guilty and has taken a deal, and Jen is still going to trial. So it doesn't sound like things are going to be good for Jen, because I have to imagine part of those deals are going to be testifying against Jen. So
Yeah.
I don't think Jen is long for the free world. I think she will be in prison very soon. Her trial starts in less than a month.
March
So
7th.
March 7th.
Very soon.
Very
I wrote
soon.
that down because it was like, yeah, my trial starts March 7th. I'm like, shit, we're in February. Like, I'm not 100% sure when this was filmed. Probably, it was a little after Mother's Day, so probably like late May, early June. So,
yep.
But yeah, that when she said that, I was just like, oh, hey, can they use this as like evidence?
I know.
Just throwing that out there. But Heather was next, and what I first was just like, how do I describe how I was feeling during all this? I felt like I was watching something that like I needed an invitation to be watching. I don't know if you had that vibe, but I don't know, to be a part of the first real ceremony that they got to have on behalf of her father passing away, and in addition to the drama that lies underneath with the fact that she is no longer a practicing Mormon, and some of her family has kind of followed her lead. And then there's the other part of her family who is very much still Mormon, who didn't show up. I felt like an uncomfortable +1 to like a holiday dinner where drama goes down. I was just like, oof. I respect seeing all this because I think this isn't exclusive to Heather and her family. I think these like religious turmoils happen all the time, but I was just like, I feel like you guys should have done at least one thing privately before I got to see it publicly on television.
Yeah, I agree with you. It felt very like, well, first of all, Heather continuously kept saying how much being Mormon meant to her father, and that the reason why, she was a little bit more excommunicated than some of the other relatives are because she was so public about it. And yet she's making her father, who is very Mormon, who would not be happy that she's no longer a Mormon. They haven't spoken since she became public that she was having I guess, what is she calling it, a faith crisis? That she is then like publicly talking about it at his memorial on TV. I don't think he probably would have liked that very much, but I don't know this man, so who knows? And then secondly, it felt very Scientology to me. Like it felt like, if you follow Scientology at all, which I'm not a Scientologist, I feel like I have to make that disclaimer, but I am obsessed with like learning about it and reading about it because it's just wild. She felt like she would be considered like an SP, which is I think a suppressive person it's called. And like, that's like a defector of Scientology, and they get like excommunicated from the church and they're not allowed to talk to their family anymore. That's like what it felt like with Heather. Like her family excommunicated her, and I did not know Mormonism was like that serious about it. So I thought it was interesting, but it did feel a little bit too intimate for me to be watching. Also, what were her boots with her dress?
I don't know if I noticed her boots, to be honest.
Oh, she had like these big combat chunky boots on with her white dress. It was a very strange choice.
Oh, maybe it was like muddy or something. Maybe it was the snow-capped mountains that were in the background had started.
Looked like a choice.
The snow started melting.
Yeah,
made it muddy. I did think it was interesting that her sister, who we met earlier in the season, didn't show up.
Yeah, I know she mentioned kind of a reason, but I couldn't really tell if it was like because her sister didn't want to celebrate the dad because she was still dealing with things, or like knew that the dad didn't support her, so she didn't. It felt like a little bit blurry to me why the sister wasn't there.
Yeah, and speaking of showing up, Mom did, but then left right away.
Yeah,
wondered,
that was interesting. She probably didn't. What I'm assuming is that she didn't want to be on camera.
That was what I was about to say too.
That's probably what happened.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this
because I think her face was blurred when the brother went over, right?
Yeah. So we didn't get to see her. She didn't give permission for that. I do think that the way Heather talks about everything is that she's still like struggling to fully let go of the fact that she's not Mormon. That she was talking about like the chair in heaven that was meant for her that isn't going to be, I mean, like, I do feel bad for her in a way that she she's still like struggling with that, but at the same time, like I've never, as someone who was raised a Catholic and really started not believing in it while I was like in the process of being a confirmed Catholic, like I've had some opposition from my family, but like Catholicism isn't nearly as intense, I think. I mean, it can be, but the Catholicism I experienced was not. Where being Mormon just seems far more intense, and to be able to, it's not just leaving the church, but she really has to reframe her whole thinking towards not just religion, but life. Like those two things overlap so much in that religion that they don't as much, I would say, in others, that you can tell that she struggles still to, it almost feels like, well, if everything about Mormonism is true in the afterlife, I'm going to say it this way respectfully.
Right.
However, I also kind of don't really believe in it, but still think that it was very interesting to hear. I don't know if we call them her confessionals in this or one-on-ones.
Yeah, I guess
or whatever.
so.
But that was like the main thing that I got out of all of it was like, she's still struggling.
Yeah. And I get it. I think it took a lot of courage for her to do this, especially so publicly, and face a lot of backlash from the people. Yeah, I think she's getting a lot of public support, but like personally in her personal life, I think it's probably really difficult for her because like you said, it's like a whole just change of her life. Like her whole entire life has to change now, which is a really big step to take. So, shout out to Heather. I hope she's doing well.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to figure out, but she is probably helping more people than she has any idea that she is. And I'm sure she gets like DMs and stuff on Instagram and everything, but good for her. And I hope that the struggle from that becomes easier each day because it can't be easy.
Yeah, totally.
After Heather's family memorial, we check in with Meredith next. And she aligned her photo shoot with Glad for her jewelry brand, which, did we know she had a jewelry brand before right now?
I know she had a store.
Yeah.
That sold jewelry. I didn't know it was like her jewelry brand, but okay.
I had heard that she has a boutique, right?
Yes, I believe so.
I'd heard via Reddit that boutique does not live up to what Meredith hypes it up to be.
I'm sure it doesn't. I'm
that
not
it was
surprised.
Like some like very cheaply made clothes at overpriced value, but anyway.
That's what I expect from a Real Housewife.
Yes. What did you think of the photo shoot that they did?
I thought it was nice that she was trying to emphasize representation, which is really great. But I just don't find anything that Meredith really does to be necessarily genuine. And I don't care for her family. I know that's like a pretty rude thing to say, but like just her entire family, I don't care for them.
Her family her daughter poses.
Yeah, her family that poses, and then they're posing in the next episode. They're posing. It was nice. I did think she made a very strange comment about like the goal is that no one has to come out anymore, and I was like, is that the goal, or
I wrote that? I felt like that was a very 2022 version of I don't see color.
Yeah, that's kind of what it felt. I was like, what are you saying?
No,
like
that's like that. It doesn't give people their identity. Like that's part of them. And so to not have to come out, like I understand the point of it. I think my guess is if she meant that it shouldn't be an ordeal. You shouldn't have to worry about the backlash or who supports you and who doesn't. I think that's what she meant, but the way she phrased it just made it seem like, no, everyone should be equal and whatever you are is fine.
Right.
And it's just like that to me, it felt like I don't see color. I see you for you. And it's like, but that's not the point. Like you have to see how who they are has like shaped their experiences throughout their life and has caused these things to like cause them to be the way they are today because of it. And I just, yes. Yeah,
it was very
entirely
all sexual orientations matter to me.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Do you think that Brooks made the outfits?
No, I don't. I would say yeah, but they looked a little too well constructed. I don't think they were great, but they just like looked a little above Brooks's skill level.
Okay.
To me.
What did you think of Brooks saying to his sister, like, we don't have to be related in the photos?
That was maybe the one time that I like had a chuckle over something that Brooks said. I'm just like so out on Brooks. I don't need Brooks to be a character on this show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done with Brooks.
Oh, he said,
But that
like,
was pretty funny.
Yeah. I feel a little uncomfortable right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
After Meredith's jewelry brand photo shoot, we go to Whitney, which I didn't need to see this
God.
at all. I didn't
I wish
need
I
to.
I wish I could erase this entire scene from my brain, but unfortunately I feel like it's going to live like it's burnt in there for the rest of my life.
So since we saw it, you have to hear about it, and I'm going to be as graphic as possible. No, I'm just kidding. But basically, her husband comes home from what seems to be a work trip. Whitney is in some red lingerie, and she like pops some champagne. She basically makes him motorboat her to lick some champagne off of her. They go upstairs to their room to where they are going to participate in love art. So
Yes.
they paint each other, roll on this canvas thing. And that's what we have to see. But
we got a pretty big ass slap.
Oh, yeah. And
Whitney on all fours with, what's her husband's name? Justin. Smacking her ass. Her entire breasts are out. She has nipple pasties on, but she's essentially nude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know what nipples look like.
Yes.
So we can imagine what they look like under those pasties.
And I don't need that ever again.
No.
So if you're listening, cut that out. Literally.
I don't want to yuck anybody's yum or anything, but like, I don't ever need to see any of the housewives and their husbands like basically initiating sex. I don't need it. We saw it with Tamra in the bathtub. We've seen it a couple of times.
We saw with Ramona and Mario. Like, do you remember that one? That was uncomfortable too.
Yeah, like we don't ever need this. It's like gross. And then Whitney is just such a tryhard to me that this was like such a her putting on a moment for the show. And I'm just thinking like when I was watching it, I was picturing the cameramen in the room, camera people, I don't know if they're all men, in the room, like basically filming a porn.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially like, what did they leave and say like, okay, enjoy your sex. We're going to go.
I am pro sex. I am not pro having to watch people have sex, like, unless I am choosing it. And like, I didn't turn on the Housewives expecting to watch foreplay this morning.
No.
Not the way I expected to start my day, but yeah. So there you go. That's your Whitney update, which seems like so much more shallow. I get the point of like, we've been a little rocky because I basically made him give me all his money so I could rebrand my company. Right. And our sex life has like suffered because of that. So like, I got the point. But I also like visually saw too much of the point of this. And that's where I'm like, maybe next time we can like get a balance. We don't get any Jenny update. We don't get any Mary update. Do you think that's on purpose?
Oh, so we saw Mary playing miniature golf.
Oh yeah, that doesn't count.
But that was like nothing.
It was like one comment.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's on purpose. The only other thing I'll say about Whitney is that it just feels like she is desperate for a storyline because her whole presence on this show is meddling in other people's business. And when she said that she had the rebrand, I was like, oh yeah, that was a thing that happened that we never heard about again. So it just felt very like it reeked of desperation to me. It didn't seem like a genuine moment.
I understand that. I do wonder, I mean, she doesn't really need a storyline because of her role in the show, which is just she is the pot stirrer.
Yeah.
And that takes some biceps and triceps. Keep going, some shoulder strength too. That like
we saw all of those.
Yeah, we saw how
she was nude. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. True. You're right. So thank you, Whitney, for letting us see your muscles in the flesh, literally. Mm-hmm. We get to go to the Vita party, which is our end of season get together. And before Meredith gets to the party, the women who are already there, which I believe was Heather, Whitney, Lisa, Jenny, all agree that there's something weird going on with Meredith, which is a bit of a precursor to what is to come. We get some classic Mary shade when she's talking about Lisa's, or they ask like Mary what she wants, and she orders, did she order different tequila? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
She definitely,
but I wouldn't put
a
it by
drink
her. Yeah.
that was not the tequila. And she said it tastes like water. It's like Lisa, blah.
See, these are the reasons why I'm going to miss Mary. I think this whole party was like a good Mary moment. She left on top of her craft. And goodbye, I guess.
Well, speaking of Mary, she was talking to Jen, right? And she goes, I forgive people. I don't want to be on bad terms with anyone. And then Whitney comes up and goes, hey, can I talk to you? And she is so mad that she has to give Whitney the time of day.
Yeah.
That she just said she forgives people and like doesn't hold grudges, but the exception to the rule is Jenny and Whitney, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah.
I was just so humored by that. She literally just finished that sentence and then it's like, what do you want? I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah. Amazing.
So Whitney manages to pull Mary to the side and she
hammered, by the way. She's hammered.
Yeah.
As she is almost every time we see her on the screen.
Yeah, and they're making a point of that. I imagine it's going to come up at the reunion because or I mean maybe they'll Chris it. What's shoot, I am forgetting her name.
Oh, Candace's husband.
Yes. Where I was like, they keep bringing this up and there's no connection to it. Like, when are we going to get the connection? But yeah, Whitney's been drinking a lot. They bring that up and Mary's
Liquid
like,
courage.
I can smell it on you. I don't want to talk to you when you're not sober.
Yeah, and she's like, we're at a tequila party, Mary. Like just slurring her words. I'm totally out on Whitney. It's like just week over week, I'm just like out on her a little bit more. And this week I'm just 100% out on her, I think.
Whitney tries to apologize for what she said about Mary's church and was like, I didn't say anything that wasn't already out there. And I only said it because you were rude to me first.
What an apology.
Yes. Seems heartfelt.
Yeah.
If you hadn't hurt my feelings, then I wouldn't hurt yours.
Right.
And somehow Jenny gets involved in this.
Okay. I watched this 2 times, I think, because I rewound to make sure I could understand what was going on and how Jenny got involved. And I still don't know how Jenny got involved. Why was she there and why did she get started? I don't know where she came from.
She just like leaned over and chimed in.
Yeah. I was like, what the fuck is she doing here?
I don't even remember exactly what she said. I just know that I was like, oh, you were sitting here waiting for this. Like you inserted yourself into this situation. This isn't happenstance. You are on this couch for a very specific reason, and that is to yell at Mary. Yep. I knew I should have wrote it down. I was like, I'll remember this. I just watched it this morning. All I wrote underneath it was the Jen Shah commentary on this was so good. What did she say?
Jen Shah said she threw a glass. She's been there, done that.
Oh, yes.
And she said, when I threw a glass, it went a little further. And she said, it was cute.
Yes. Oh, I wish you weren't a criminal.
I know. She really makes me laugh. Between last week at the church and this week in her confessional, she really had me laughing.
Her confessionals are good, but like her in the moment, she turns me off to her so much. Yeah. And we see a little bit more with it later, but she is constantly needing to be the center of the attention, and it's not in like a good way where it's like, hey, everybody look at me. It's like, no, why don't you feel bad for me right now?
Yeah.
And I can't stand that. But then when she makes these hilarious comments,
I know.
I'm just like, fuck, like, why do you tear? I am torn between despising you, but also genuinely appreciating your sense of humor.
I know. It's tough. It is tough. She's a good housewife. It's unfortunate that she's going to be going to jail for like 70 years.
Real Housewives of, and then name a famous jail.
Yeah. I'd watch it.
a few more of you to get in here.
I would watch it.
I mean, we would probably podcast on it. So
yeah.
Mary, surprisingly, very surprisingly here after this leaves.
Yeah, I guess like it. So they walked away from the situation. She said something to Jenny about being from the hood, and then she's like, "You don't know what the hood is," or something.
Yeah,
and I was like, "This is like
in Utah."
Yeah, which I'm like, okay, I don't know, weird. And then like they got up and walked away, and even Whitney was like, "Do you want me to come with you?" And Mary was like, "Come with me," because it seemed like Mary wanted to finish that conversation, but Jenny just like was out of pocket, following her, throwing a glass, and Mary just left. Just was like, "I'm out.
Peace.
See ya."
That's the thing about Mary that I wish she was better at, is she is so good at just avoiding the dramatics. And I mean, given she says some fucked up shit when she is in the dramatics, but she just removes herself from so much, whether it's the car rides or the dinner. She just gets up and walks away, and it's like, no, the reason you're here is to face this head on. And but I think that's our last Mary moment. So
it felt like it was always kind of looming over us, right? It felt like Mary was always one foot out the door. Even last season, she was never around. She filmed like most of the show from her closet. I don't think she went to Vegas.
She even came back
after last season. I think it's because she had a good reunion. Yeah. So, and it felt like she was a little more involved this season, but, and it, like her and Meredith made some kind of like alliance or something at the beginning of the season to stick by each other. That's what it seems like. And it just, I don't know. I think she made her mark. We had some good times with Mary. We had some bad times with Mary. It's unfortunate she won't be at the reunion, but you know what? I think it's going to be fine. I think we'll be fine at the reunion without her. I'm going to miss some of her like under her breath shady comments. Those really always gave me a chuckle. But other than that, like, we got what we needed.
Yeah. I would give a toast to Mary leaving, but my glass is broken from throwing it at her on her way out. Just kidding.
Did you throw it further than Jen's glass?
Listen, if there's one thing I am confident in, is that I could throw a glass further than Jen Shah ever could. A former softball player, I've got an arm, you know, like I would be embarrassed if I didn't. Let's put it that way. But bye, Mary. It's been real. So it's been real, Housewives. After that, we get the men, which is funny, just being like, hey, when they decide to like each other is when they decide to like each other. When the women align, they align. They just like stay out of it and like toast to it. But clearly that is only leading to the next fight that we're going to get in.
Yep.
So Jen goes to Meredith. Okay, but are we friends? Which, if you have to ask, the answer is probably no.
Yeah, agreed.
And Meredith goes, kinda, you've caught, like, I have too much trauma to get over to be the friend to support you right now. And then Jen just is like, but Whitney started all of this last year. She was the one that said that you were sleeping around.
Which actually, no, it was actually Jen who said it to Whitney.
When they cut to they're like, and the film says, actually, while they were doing some very bad bicep curls. Very bad. The form, not great. You're going to tweak something there. I would recommend bringing those more up front. That it was definitely Jen. It was absolutely
no
Jen.
question. No question.
And then I don't know if something was said that caused Meredith to flip.
I have no idea. This is another reason why I watched again.
Meredith went from 0 to 100 real quick.
Immediately. Like, the snap of a finger, she was like off. I don't know what the hell happened. I don't think anybody at the table knew what happened.
No. I think at that point, that was when like Whitney and Heather kind of exited stage left. And like,
I think Whitney was like, I hate these bitches. Or Heather. Did I say Whitney? I meant Heather. Under her, there was like a little subtitle saying, I hate these bitches. Like, let's go. I hate these bitches.
Yeah.
Which, like, I get it. I'd hate them too. I love watching them, but I would hate them in real life.
And Meredith flips and she's like, you want me to talk about who you all been dating? And then they cut to her confessional of like, oh, I've received some information, which is probably like Bravo stan accounts. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
The absolute worst people on the internet, besides like white supremacists and men who believe in the red pill theory, like they rank third. It's your reality TV stan accounts. And I hate the word stan, by the way. So the fact that I've said it 3 times in the last 30 seconds, that's how passionately I feel about the fact that these are the people she got that information from.
Yes.
Or she's on Reddit too. I wonder what her Reddit username is.
Oh, I wonder. Maybe Brooks is on Reddit feeding her the dirt.
He's probably putting dirt out there on Jen Shaw.
Probably.
It was Brooks that called the FBI. It wasn't Meredith. That's how Meredith knew. I figured it out. Oh my God, put me on Reddit right now. How have we missed this?
Yeah, call Whitney. It'll be the conspiracy theory for next season.
I'm tweeting her right after we're done. And this next part to me was actually a part where I was like, you know what? Meredith has a point. Meredith, in a confessional, she's like, if they want to keep talking about things that happened during my dark times in my relationship, let them. But like, we've moved past this, and I wish they would too. To which I agree with her 100% there, because relationships are a hard thing to navigate.
Sure.
If we're going to pretend that everyone who is currently in a relationship, it's all just been like unicorns shitting rainbows and sunshine, like clearly it's not.
Right.
Shit happens. We've seen Nene Leakes divorce and get back with her husband. Like we've seen how many divorces on the show. We've seen people reconcile. Like, and that's just on Real Housewives. Forget in real life that I do agree with Meredith, and I do wish that she was able to say that to them as opposed to just to us in the confessional.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like this whole party felt really strange to me, but especially this scene, it just felt really bizarre. I didn't really feel like it was super warranted for Meredith to go off like that, like specifically on Jen. I guess because Jen was like, Whitney started it, but it just felt like she's like, you want to talk about how you're, and everybody was kind of like, what are you talking about? And I felt like, what are you talking about? Like, it just like, she just like went on, like she snapped. And it just seemed like it was kind of out of nowhere. Like the conversation wasn't necessarily going in that direction. Maybe it would have gotten there eventually, but she really took it there immediately. It was a little strange.
Yeah, I think that was implied, or maybe she took it as being implied, and that's why she flipped out that way. I'm not sure, but I do agree with her that like everybody knows that her and her husband had their shit and they've gone back together. So like, do the women need to make it harder for her to already continue working on like a relationship that already had its issues, I guess. So this might be the first time all season where I'm like, all right, I 100% can agree with what Meredith is saying in this moment.
Yeah.
But she did flip and stormed out. Let me tell you who you've all been dating. And when she's like, Seth and I have dated other people. Happy?
Yeah. Right. I guess she reached her breaking point.
And it doesn't help that like leading into it on the car ride in, her husband was like, how do you think this is going to go? And she's like, if people behave, it'll be fine. And if they don't, it won't be fine. So I think she was also kind of ready for a throwdown, which maybe helped speed along that reaction. Yeah. Before we end, because we're basically at the end of this episode, how boring is Lisa Barlow's husband?
He is very boring. He like sometimes has like a funny comment here and there, but I actually hate all of the husbands except for Coach Shaw. And I guess Whitney's husband is like, he seems nice, but they give me nothing. I don't want like how New Jersey has the husbands. Even that's like a little too much for me. And I like I like their vibe. I don't want that to be replicated here. These are not the men I want to be spending time with. I would rather spend time with the women. I don't want these men on my screen. Unless the women are present.
Yeah, no, I understand. Because we've gotten quite a few over the last 2 seasons of like just the men at their little shindigs together.
Yeah, like I'm good.
I agree. And another question I have for you is, what did you think of the theme of Lisa's party?
So I liked what production did with the editing.
Yeah.
But a lot of these parties lately have felt very like a bunch of people in an empty room to me. And it just feels very weird. Like
Do you
Whitney's
think
party
it's
felt that way. This party felt
COVID?
this way. You know, I was thinking maybe it's COVID, but they all just feel kind of like set in a weird, I don't know what these like venues are. It just looks like
Yeah.
they're empty rooms that people put tables in. And it's just like 10 people there gathering around. It's just all bizarre to me. But I thought it was cute. I thought everybody looked cute. I don't know. It's hard to tell because I mean the food looked good. I would have eaten it.
Oh, yeah, that was a great spread of like
Yeah.
mall but make or like mall food court but make it chic. Like
Yeah.
I approved of that one. That was a good
Yeah.
one.
That looked really those french fries looked amazing. But like other than that, it was good. I mean, I think it's hard because we don't get to hear like the music that's playing and we don't get to hear like what actually is going on at the parties. So it just seems like there's a theme just for the sake of having a theme. But I do like that she said she hates a theme party and didn't want anybody to wear costumes. So I was like, good for you. Because I also hate a theme party.
Same. I hate them.
Like, no, we don't need this.
Being told what to wear is one of my least favorite things in the world. Like, if you are going to invite me to a theme party, don't give that invitation to someone else because I'm going to politely reject it.
Yes, same. Or I'll just come not in theme. So
I've
just be
done
prepared
that
for that.
And people are like, it's like, what?
Yeah, what? No, sorry. If I have to buy a costume or stress about what I'm wearing to your party, I'm not coming. Or I'm not wearing what you want me to wear.
Yeah. My forefathers fought for my freedom to wear what I want to your theme party.
Yeah.
And especially ugly sweater. Like, no, I'm not spending money on an ugly sweater. Get out. So I do agree. I did appreciate how she was like, fuck a theme party.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, Lisa Barlow. I am with you on that one.
Yep.
The last thing that really happens is Jen kind of like still deflecting. We get her saying that Meredith and Mary need to be held accountable for their actions. And we get the end of season like, this person's doing this and this person's doing that. But we left on some drama.
Yeah. This episode kind of like fell a little flat for me because the drama felt like a lot of it felt like it came out of nowhere. Like it felt like the Jenny situation was just Jenny trying to get a second season, which obviously we know that she did not because of her issues. And it felt like she was just going over the top, really trying too hard. And then it felt weird because like no one cared. She just like walked up to the group and everyone was like, "Oh, hi, Jenny." And Lisa was like, "I don't care. Just don't throw my tequila bottles." And then like Meredith had a freak out and it just felt like drama just for the sake of drama. And it wasn't like based in anything. I don't know. It felt a little flat to me. Felt forced or off or something. Just because maybe we've gotten so much this season that this finale was kind of just like there.
The other part of it, I think, is I feel like we saw all that drama in like the preseason trailer, the mid-season trailer, the upcoming stuff that like Meredith walking away screaming, "Do you want me to talk about who you've all been dating?"
Yeah, it ends up with not like there's no payoff.
Yeah, there's no follow-up with like, tell me then.
Yeah, we've seen everything. You're right. We've seen everything that happened at this party that was like worth mentioning in a trailer.
Yeah. So it was like, oh, no, this is really surprising to me, except like Whitney's nipples. That's it, you know, or lack thereof. That's the only thing I wasn't ready for this episode.
I'll never be ready for it.
We have 3 reunion episodes coming up.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm
excited.
I'm hoping that it's 3 worthwhile reunion episodes, though, because if it could be done in 2, Andy, do it in 2.
I'm always good with a 3-parter, but the 4-parters, there's always one that's a total dud. And we've done 4 parts of Potomac, which we did not need because the Potomac reunion in general was not great. And Beverly Hills, of course, which there was one dud in that too. I don't remember which episode, but yeah, I don't know. I hope it's good. I hope for Orange County we get a 1-parter.
No reunion.
Or no reunion. Yeah, that would be great. That
moves us right into Orange County. We start off with Heather and family dinner at Nobu, which, by the way, I will be going to Nobu in Chicago before the end of this year. I have made it my goal because I just see it on all these like high-end TV shows, and I really just want to try it myself.
Yeah,
So,
I support that.
plus I love sushi.
Love Taco Bell and fine dining.
Eating with Lisa Barlow at Taco Bell. Anyway, we get into some family dynamics where we've got the twins, who are Heather's two oldest. The oldest girl, I'm forgetting her name, because then there's Kat, the 14-year-old, and Coco, the youngest. Like Nikki and Max. Did I make that up?
I think you're right.
Okay. So Max had come out as bi, and then we have Kat, who recently came out as a lesbian, and you can just see like the sibling clashing, which like happens when you're four kids that are all, well, three of the four teenagers, right? And so Kat's like, stop commenting on this, and then we can like really see Heather kind of shedding all of like the housewife bullshit, I guess, and you see her as a mom. And what do you think just in general as Heather as a mom?
Well, I'm not a Heather fan, but I did like this scene because I like that she's very supportive of her children, who are obviously going through a tough time. And it seems like her daughter, Kat, that's her name, Kat?
Yeah, Kat is a 14-year-old.
Right. And it seems like she is not having an easy time coming out, and maybe is going through things at school. And it's nice to see Heather being really supportive of her, because at least then she has a home that she can feel comfortable to be herself in. So that is sweet. So good for you, Heather, for that.
Yeah, I think that for how much shit everyone gives Heather in terms of just, she is so on a level that none of us could ever touch or really resonate with, that we, like, her as a mom, I really think just, I appreciate at least what we see and just how she's able to just openly like have really tough conversations. I can't imagine my parents ever being like talking to me about any sort of sexuality, whether it's straight, bi, whatever. Totally. You know what I mean? That I like what she's able to do for her kids, which is to create that like safe space of, no, I accept you no matter who you are, what you're doing, as long as you are like being a good person, it's fine by me.
Yeah, and it seems what I like about this scene, and just generally like Heather and the family dynamic, is it seems like Heather is really present, where if you're as rich as Heather, like you could have nannies, you could have staff helping you, but it really seems like, I'm sure there's plenty of staff, but it feels like, I mean, we've seen the cook, but it does feel like, at least when it comes to being a mother, like Heather is very present, which is nice. It's nice to see. It seems like they have a really good relationship.
Yeah. And that's really all I took out of that, was like, okay, Heather the housewife might piss off a lot of people, or they might not be able to relate to her just because of how much money she has. But I think Heather as a mom, definitely, I'm hoping that like the middle America moms, who like the conservative white women who watch this show, see this and are like, oh, okay. Like, and maybe take in a little bit of it. That's really what I'm hoping for out of it. And I appreciate that Heather is able to provide that platform through the show for this.
Yeah, agreed.
Next, we get Emily and Noella, which really is the first part of two parts, where Emily is like implying to Noella that she needs to stop talking about herself so much and realize that, like, yeah, you're going through shit, but so is everyone else.
Yep.
Noella doesn't take it well.
No, and I'm not surprised by that at all. Noella is like, she has main character syndrome.
Yes. I appreciate that Emily said something, though.
Yeah, I think Emily's actually been pretty good this season. She seems like a voice of reason in a lot of areas, and she does seem to get along with most of the women, which is nice. I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that her ability to say what likely everyone else is thinking, but you can tell that she isn't doing it maliciously most of the time. And then sometimes when she is saying shit, it's things she shouldn't be saying, but she's also not doing it maliciously there, but more just being like, here's some information I think you should have, like you were a pity invitation.
Yeah.
She's
doing her job to like move the story forward, but in like a not so blatant way as like a Whitney.
Yes. But that's part one of it. Before we get to part two of it, oh, well, I guess it really is all in this one place. Really, the next thing that happens is Shannon's lunch party.
Yeah, right? That's really not that much going
Yeah,
on.
not much happened here. The first thing I would like to ask is, does Shannon not have a steamer? She was ironing herself.
I don't know what is wrong with Shannon. Truly, I don't know. She seems so. I was like thinking because I've recently rewatched the OC as I've mentioned before. So like
Yeah.
I know like original Shannon and this Shannon seems like she's truly unhinged. Like the other Shannon was unhinged in different ways, but this woman is like somebody needs to check on her. Like, is she okay? Because like, what are you doing ironing the clothes on your body? What are you doing?
Yes. I think you're gonna burn yourself. Given like you can burn yourself with a steamer doing the same thing, but at least
like, ma'am,
it
do it
is a lot
beforehand.
easier to do. Yeah, it just I feel like the steamer is the last minute move, not the iron yourself. But
yeah, wild, wild.
After we get Heather picking up Dr. Jen, and Dr. Jen gets in the car and is like, "Hey, so Ryan, Rye. That's what his name's gonna be, Rye. Because they both begin with that, but then he like mixes himself after. He left, came back, and then left again. And she's like, I want a divorce. And Heather's like, no, you don't. Like, you must save the marriage. And that's how I feel like when I'm like, no, I don't want kids. And everyone's like, you're gonna change your mind. Like, shut up, Heather. If she wants a divorce, let it happen. Like,
I know.
You can't save their marriage, Heather.
I think what Heather is feeling, or at least what it seems like they're trying to portray here, is that she is the Ryan, and Dr. Jen is, and Dr. Jen is the Terry, and she wouldn't want Terry to say that he wants a divorce. So she like is trying to say no, like that's not what you want, but it's a very different situation, obviously. Like these two people clearly don't like each other.
Yes.
Where Terry and Heather like each other, they just went through some bumps. So I get what a lot of people were saying though once they got to the party. Well, it was very funny because she's like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to say. And then she like immediately just spills the second that she gets to the party.
Yes, that was the next part that I had. It's like, tell the women not ask me questions. And then the next thing is like, okay, but Ryan left. He left me. How are you? My husband, he left me. Like, so that's not a feeling, but okay, let's talk about it.
Right. Totally.
I do want to go back to the Terry thing real quick because while Terry would never said anything like, I want a divorce, he did say, you know, it is really nice to not have my kids around that much because I'm so busy. Do you remember that when he was like filming Botched and everything? I was like, oh, you said that for national television. Like
there was a season where Terry, it's fresh in my mind because I watched it recently, it was so terrible where he did not care that he was not there for his kids. And I think Heather said something about a divorce. And he brought it up at the Wine by Wives party back 100 years ago, or maybe it was like a vodka tasting or something. I don't know. But yeah, they had a pretty bumpy road too. And Terry's awful. I can't stand Terry. I think he's awful.
Yeah, he's like very funny.
Yeah.
To me, just like smug and phony.
Ugh. Yeah.
Like you said, like they get to the party and I think Emily goes like, oh, how are you? And Dr. Jen's like, yeah, I've just like had like a difficult day. And Heather tries to be like, well, she had to pick the kids up. And so that was nice. And Emily's like, no, but what's wrong? And then Dr. Jen just like spills it all out.
Yeah.
Like, Heather
tried.
So Heather did try. Like Dr. Jen asked her one specific thing, like tell the women to not ask me questions, and she tried to deflect for her. She truly did. Not only was Heather trying in that way, but she also tried in another way where she brought edibles for Shannon, and which get later used in the episode. That's really like the only thing in the episode besides. Hold on. Let's not get to the microdosing yet. Let me backtrack because Dr. Jen is like, oh my God, they all left. Ryan left and they're sitting at their lunch table. And you have quite a few women there who have experienced either tumultuous parts of their marriages or just straight up divorces. You have Shannon, whose husband cheated on her and said some awful things about her. You have Emily, who for 2 years, Shane, like, I think Shane is naturally a dick, but Shane was like full on dick to her, and we saw that.
Oh yeah, so bad.
And Gina entered OC with a fucking divorce and like whatever charges that got brought up against him. I forget what it was. And I mean, Heather, as we mentioned, went through it a little bit with Terry, but if you're trying to tell me that money can't buy you happiness, I will politely disagree and use Heather Dubrow as my first piece of evidence for why that is wrong. Is there anyone that I'm missing? Oh, and then Noella.
Well, Noella, which we know, yeah.
Noella got a divorce? No way.
I know, it's weird. She hasn't mentioned it.
Yeah, not at least like in the last 36 seconds.
Yeah. I thought that this scene was kind of nice. Like, it felt like they all were giving her genuine advice because they'd all been there before. So that was like the one moment that actually seemed like genuine with some of these women. Like, they actually seemed like friends giving friends advice. And, I'm very big on these women actually being friends because otherwise the chemistry is not there. And that moment felt like it was like a real moment for a minute. And I thought it was kind of wild that Ryan and Dr. Jen also went to that wackadoo wedding counselor that made that Shannon and David like reenact their funeral or like act out their role play their funerals. I was like, oh, this is a thing. Like, more people went here. What are the odds of this? That woman
must roll in money. If she's, I mean, think of it. If 2 housewives have been to this person, then imagine
they can't be cheap.
People. Yeah, that's crazy. Just to tell people to do fucking weird shit.
I know. And like, we don't need to keep flashing back to that. I feel like that's like one of those scenes like where like, this is not my plate, you fucking bitch. And then like that scene of like Shannon reading David's like fake eulogy. We don't need to do this. Like, can we just like retire those two, please?
Yeah. And I agree with you. It felt like everyone was able to contribute to the conversation. They weren't contributing in a way where it's like, oh, hear my sorrow.
Yeah, it felt like they were giving her like, genuine advice.
This is what I've experienced. Here's things to try. Here's like, I've felt this way. And until Noella like kind of wouldn't let it go that she was served papers 6 weeks ago for a divorce.
Right. Like, girl, we know.
Emily did the Lord's work by yelling at her. I do truly believe that. Like,
she did. Someone needed to do it. It needed to happen.
However, that caused like fractions to kind of go off into different rooms. So we had in one room, Dr. Jen, Emily, Shannon,
and Heather, I think.
And I was reading the wrong part. So it was definitely Heather, Dr. Jen, Shannon. Was Emily in there? Yes, because I remember.
I think she was.
Yeah, because I specifically remember Emily like taking a bite of whatever candy it was and like passing it like it was a fucking blunt, like they were smoking.
Yeah, this whole entire scene was the most cringe, secondhand embarrassment thing I've ever seen in my life, ever.
So as I mentioned, Heather brought Shannon some edibles as a like hostess gift, which is like a rich thing to do. And so at one point someone said, before I go back in there, I need a Xanax. And Heather's like, well, I have edibles, why don't we have that instead? So they Heather's like, I've been microdosing and I got Shannon to start microdosing, like, which I don't even think is the real.
I was going to ask, is this a real thing? I thought that was like microdosing was for like hallucinogens.
That's what I was under the impression that like when I have heard it used and it made more sense.
It's for like acid, maybe.
I've heard like mushrooms. Like,
mushrooms. Okay.
I don't know much about any of these things.
Nor do I.
This was
my ignorance.
Sorry, I haven't reached my drug phase yet, but
same.
Maybe it's coming.
No judgment.
No, I have a friend whose brother had started microdosing mushrooms to help with like anxiety and stuff, and he's like an air traffic controller, so he is in one of like the most stressful jobs you can have, and So that's how it was explained to me. So I always assumed it was for something that if you take not a microdose, you are likely to be tripping balls for a while.
Right.
Versus like you can eat a full gummy, edible, whatever it is, and like just be high. So
yeah.
The whole microdosing thing, I think that they're just trying to use a fancy word so it doesn't seem like they just like getting stoned off of edibles somewhat frequently, to which like it's legal.
Also, like, yeah, and also just like the editing here, and I don't know what the real timeline is, but they all like take one bite of like the same gummy, which like I don't know how many milligrams this gummy is, but it can't be doing that much for. I guess that's why they're saying it's a microdose, but like I don't know. And then on the bottom, like the Chiron on the bottom says like minutes later, and they're acting like complete fucking fools. And if you've ever taken an edible, it takes like over an hour to kick in. There's no way that they were feeling anything within 5 minutes, let alone 10 minutes, let alone 30 minutes.
Yes. And for how much they didn't eat, unless that thing was like they were just biting into a fucking like ball of weed and it wasn't like in a chocolate or something, like I can't imagine that they felt anything besides maybe a little bit more relaxed. So when they were like, when they had Shannon being like, pass the cookies, all like strung out and shit, I was like, this is the worst impression of the 70s show I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was really bad. And I can't fault the women for it because it's really the way that the show put it together. But it was just like, it was so cringe to watch. It was just like felt like a bunch of grandmothers like taking like a deep breath too hard and getting lightheaded and being like, whoa, like it just didn't feel like, I don't know. It was just very embarrassing to watch.
Yeah. And that was like basically the lunch was Emily getting mad at Noella for, on behalf of everyone, saying what everyone was saying. Because even Heather was like, finally, someone who's not
someone
me.
said it.
Like, I'm not the one causing drama with Noella, but I am surely glad someone has said something. And then they microdosed. And I say that with some air quotes around it.
Yeah. I hope we're done with the microdosing. I hope that's the first and last time we ever see that.
Yeah, I also I wonder why Bravo is choosing to include that. I mean, because it also has come up a couple of times in Beverly Hills. Like Kyle has mentioned it. I think we all know that Mauricio enjoys to dabble. And she does as well, but it's not as like blunt, no pun intended, or annoying as it was in this episode.
Right. Because they act like relatively normal people about it. And like it's funny to see Mauricio high because like you can obviously tell when he's high and it's funny. But these women are, it's just like, I don't know, the show, I have to blame the show. I can't blame them. I don't know really what they were acting like, but the show made such a big deal out of it that it was just like, what year are we in right now? What are we doing?
Exactly.
Why do we need to do this?
We don't. That's the thing.
We don't. Yeah, we don't need this. We don't.
The last thing in the episode is we have Dr. Jen, Emily, and Shannon at lunch. And Emily, so when we've seen this in the previews, because again, this is something we've seen a ton of times in previews, is I thought Emily was asking out loud of, are you jealous of Gina and Heather's friendship? Because we were going to get some jealousy from Emily about Gina becoming close with Heather. Not so much Shannon being jealous, because really, are Shannon and Heather even close? Like, they started off the season with Heather being like, one more thing and I'll fucking cut your leg off. Like,
seems like a reach, this whole storyline. Even like the clip. So I guess it came from Gina saying to Emily that that Shannon seemed jealous because Emily is Gina is apparently starting a skincare line like every other housewife in the world. And Heather made like a bigger deal than Shannon did about it. And then they flash back to the scene of Shannon, which we like don't even know what she was doing in the moment, making it like kind of look like she was annoyed, but not really. Like it just felt like they were making something out of nothing there. And I just don't understand why Shannon lives rent-free in Gina and Emily's head. It's kind of bizarre.
Yeah. I just don't understand the Shannon's anger after this question. Like, because I guess Emily made a comment along the lines of like, Gina thinks that you're jealous of her.
Yeah. And she said something about like the way you acted about the skincare. And she's like, well, what did I do?
Yeah. Which, to be fair, Emily, like, this is one of the times where I don't know if you are purposefully stirring the pot, but
kind of throwing her friend under the bus a little bit.
Exactly. If Gina's like legit your best friend the way you say, if I'm Gina, I'm being like, the fuck are you doing? Like, that's something I said to you in confidence. This isn't something I said to you to make a storyline. But at the same time, there's no storylines worth storylining on this show that like maybe Emily's just trying a little bit. So I was just very confused by this whole situation at the end.
Yeah, it just to me did not seem at all like anything that Shannon did in that moment. Maybe she wasn't like super enthusiastic about Gina's stupid skincare line because like who cares? But I don't think that means that she's at all jealous of Heather and Gina's friendship. And there was a point where even like I think Emily asked about the trip to New York, and Shannon was like, if she asked me to go to New York, I would say like thank you for inviting me, but I'm exhausted and I have a business and whatever. Like I'm just not going to make it. Didn't seem that wild to me from Shannon, but apparently this is going to be like where the story goes from here, which is just exhausting.
Right. Because it seems like Shannon's being forced to be upset about this and not that she actually is. It's just not really understandable why she's upset.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. But yet another disappointing episode. I think they thought that like the drugs would hit harder in terms of like being funny.
They should have given us some drugs before the episode. That probably would have helped.
It's like the free COVID test we got from the government of like
Bravo just sends us 4 edibles per household.
Take one bite of these before
wait 5 minutes for it to kick in.
Ours are the special kind that kick in 5 minutes later, just like the ones featured in this episode. You don't have to wait an hour for it to hit. That's like I don't know. OC, man. I hope that I wish that OC didn't cost me $24 so I would know that we're like almost done with this season. I know. But it seems like we're gonna be here for a while.
Yeah, it's a rough one. Tamara was actually on Watch What Happens Live last night. Last night actually, which is weird, not after OC, but after Salt Lake City. And it was actually really nice to see her, and I hope they bring her back. She was you could tell she was like trying to come back on the show. But I think it's promising that they brought her on. And Andy did say something to her, like, if you were asked on the show, like you would come back, right? She's like, are you asking me? And he's like, well, so we'll see, but we need something. We just need something.
I'm Team Tamara. I've said this before. I've said it again. I think that like her and I'm realizing like Kenya have a lot in common in my opinion, where they like I've made the connection before. They're like Stitch. They try their best, but they accidentally cause trouble. And sometimes they're seen as a villain, but they really just want to have a Lilo in their life. That's all.
Yeah, I think sometimes we go a little overboard on the internet to say like fire these women when we really don't know what we're asking for at the end. Like Candace, if Candace is off Potomac, the last like 3 seasons have been about Candace. So how are we going to fire Candace? We would have nothing going on. Not that the Potomac women can't deliver, but she's been in the center of it all. She's a necessary evil. Oh. Hi, Nitro. But whether you like her or you don't, she gives us a story. Same with Tamara, same with Kenya. Like we need to stop calling for some of these women to get fired, because then look at what we get. This is what we get.
We get the OC. Nitro is speaking up. I sent Katie a picture earlier because we were watching Salt Lake City this morning, and of Nitro just laying at the end of my bed. Like he's fully watching.
Intently watching. Like, it looked like it.
It's not like he actually is like chewing something. Like sometimes he'll chew a stick and watch, but he was just straight up watching it.
It looked like it. He was very interested
into women leaving the Mormon religion.
Understandable.
I think that was the scene that we were watching. So
it's riveting television.
One of his favorite things to do is when I lay in bed and watch Housewives and he watches with me. I'm not even joking. When he was sick a couple weeks ago, that's all we did between like trips outside. So big fan.
Aw.
Big fan. He's growling right now, so if I mute again, that's why.
No worries.
All right, Katie, lead me through New Jersey, because as you know, I don't get it.
Yeah. How are you feeling about this
but
week? Did it come together a little more for you, or is it still kind of like you need the background?
All right, I want to be fully transparent with you. My car had some issues this weekend, so I was like, I need to get my taxes done. So I did my taxes during
While watching Jersey. Totally fair. Totally fair.
So while I was paying attention, like I mostly remember the end part of Dolores and Jackie. But I met Frank, right? Is that his name?
Frank.
Okay, so like I'm seeing people that are connecting things, and we had some Gia stuff too with the family.
Yeah.
But again, and what was the second, not the second daughter, I don't know, like the second oldest?
Melania.
Like, yeah, I was like, she has a name that's like...
She's a star. Once you catch up, you'll see that Melania is the true star of the family.
Okay, good to know. So yeah, I won't lie, I was doing my taxes because I was like, not where am I going to get this money from, but like if I can in my head be like, okay, I've got this money that will cover
totally makes sense
the expensive night my car endured on Friday.
I'm sorry.
It was wild. It was absolutely wild. I mean, I don't think it's a boring story, but nonetheless, I won't bore everyone with my car troubles. However, let's just say I called my dad and I was like, yo, you trying to get a free year of AAA? Because I've got a reason for you to go. And my dad's retired and loves complaining. So he's a true Karen. Except
nice.
What's funny is that's my mom's name. So I was like, here you go. This is what happened. He was like, oh, I'm going to go to the bathroom and then I'm going to go right there.
Amazing.
if that gives any perspective. So yes. In conclusion, like, oh, well, I did message you. I'm like, yo, New Jersey goes by so much faster than Orange County.
Yeah, right?
Orange County seemed like it was 3 hours long.
Truly, with Orange County, when we got to that lunch scene at the end of the episode, I was like, we have another scene? How is this show still on? Like, it felt like it was dragging forever. But yeah, Jersey's been good so far. What happened this episode? Not a ton. A lot of it was like a lot of setup. I need more Teresa, I think. She's away for her daughter Adriana's dance recital in Boston for a week, she said. So that's why she wasn't at the party at the end. But essentially the storyline, to drill it down as basic as we can, it's Jackie is on Jen's side with Margaret outing her and wants to be there to support her, even though historically they haven't gotten along. And the other women are not. And that's it. So Jackie essentially threw a quote unquote frat party, which is another party that's an empty room of people. It did not look like a party to me. That was the saddest party I've ever seen. And they were doing shots from an ice luge of beer. They were like, want to do a shot? And then I see them pouring bottles of beer. Like, it's not a shot. That's not a shot. Is that a shot? That's not a shot.
I mean, I guess when you say shot, it's usually like 1 ounce of hard alcohol.
Yeah. Correct? And just pouring some beer down a luge is not a
beer, I guess. But it's not technically like a shot.
Yeah, but in the episode they were all like, want to do a shot. I'm all over the place here, but they were like, let's do a shot. Let's do a shot. And then like they're just pouring beer down an ice luge. I'm like, this is not a
You wonder if
shot.
It's so that like people don't get too messy.
Maybe. Well, I want mess, especially if you're going to have a trash party. A frat party is what I meant to say.
I was also upset that they only had 6 cups for beer pong on each side and not 10.
This was a mess. Like, this whole thing was a mess.
What rookie shit is this? Like,
yeah, the food did look good though. I would eat that food. Again, food and an empty party looked good. But yeah, I mean, so basically, I think it's really nice that Evan and Jackie had that scene. I think it was in this episode. I don't think it was last week, where they talked about kind of her past eating disorder and how she's having struggles with it. And he's being really supportive of her. And I traditionally not a fan of Jackie, but I think it's really great that she's kind of speaking out about a lot of this stuff and bringing awareness to it and being open about her struggles. So good for you, Jackie. I hope you're doing well.
Also, just like that conversation alone, like has to be so difficult to have in terms of your partner and like what they're eating and how to navigate that. And when he made the comment of like, yeah, she'll go and like write, these are the 3 things I ate today in my journal. And so I was just like, wow, that's a tough thing to navigate in terms of a relationship, because it's so easy then to make it seem like you are trying to control someone by saying like, no, you need to eat more, you need to do this, you need to do that, and really wears on the relationship. So I did find that whole scene to be very interesting to watch, and something that I just never really considered in terms of like, oh wow, if you are a person with an eating disorder and you are in a relationship, how much that can affect your partner, your kids, like them seeing that and everything. That I mean, like working with teenagers, I've dealt with it a lot, but it's always been with teenagers and less about like you are a leader in some aspect, as Jackie is like for her kids. So
I thought it was great that she felt comfortable enough to talk about it.
Yes,
because it's been a little bit of a topic of conversation in past seasons, but not so like she's talked about it before, but not in the sense of like she's currently struggling with it and she feels like she needs to get help. And that I thought was great. So good for her, good for Evan for being supportive of her. That was a nice scene. And then the other big kind of pillar of the episode was Teresa and Joe going to Louie's house and having this like self-help dinner thing, which was very interesting. And I thought it was very funny that Teresa consistently, and Joe also, were saying like, and Melissa too, even, we're like, we don't talk about our feelings. We're Italian. We talk like, hey, yo, like they yell and they bang the table, which is, once you catch up on New Jersey, you will see that every single season is basically them just yelling and banging on tables and acting like very juvenile. But the part that really made me laugh was when Louie was talking and then Joe had a confessional and was like, what this guy's talking, nothing he's saying is making sense. He's like speaking in riddles. Like, what is this guy saying? And that really, truly made me laugh. But I thought that was nice that Melania got to say her piece, Gia got to say her piece, and they kind of like made peace in the family. I hope it sticks, but with the Gorgas, you never really know. But truly, I mean, Teresa and Joe lost their parents both very recently, and they're a small family. They're the only brother and sister, the only 2 siblings, and they really are all they have. So I hope that they can get it all together and figured out.
I like that Gia has been very good at, and I obviously haven't seen her before this, but in being an adult in the situation, but not just that. It's also making sure that her sister has a voice in the conversation as well. Because throughout all of it, she's been like, it's not just me that you have an issue, or like that has an issue with you. Do they just call him Joe, or they call him Uncle Joe? Like
they call him like Dia Joe. I don't know. It's an Italian thing.
Okay, so
Dia Joe or Tia Joe. I don't know. What? Yeah, however you say Uncle and Joe in Italian. Uncle Joe in Italian.
She hasn't just spoken for her, but she has, but she's also left room for her sisters to have an opinion. And even though Melania is like 15, was that what I remember seeing her age as?
15 or 16, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I saw in the thing that she was 15.
Yeah, probably.
To respect like her sister enough to have an adult opinion about everything that's going on, and allowing her to like have her voice in there. That I don't think that's an easy thing for anybody to do, because I think it's very easy for us to just like, that's my brother, that's my sister. If I'm this way, they're this way. Like we're one, type thing. That to navigate that as like a 21-year-old in such a not just public way, but also what seems to be a family that is quick to, maybe it's not anger, but like being loud and frustrated.
Yeah, they're hot-headed. They're definitely hot-headed.
I've just really respected, it's going to be one of those like Cynthia and Kenya things for me, like seeing her now and getting to go back and like see the development of her. I'm very excited about just like seeing how she's gotten to this place, because I really respect her in terms of how she's navigated these first few episodes.
Yeah, she's really been great. And I just think that these kids have been through so much, with both of her parents going to jail, both of their parents going to jail, both of their grandparents passing away very close after her mom got out of jail, while her father was in jail and deported. It's just like been so much for them. And to go through it also publicly, that they just came out so mature and well-adjusted and like supportive of each other and supportive of their mother. It's just really nice to see, because at the beginning of New Jersey, Teresa was very materialistic, and so were the kids, and that was like a big kind of part of the storyline of that, how her kids are spoiled and they're misbehaving. And now to see them as adults or teenagers, it's really nice.
What was I going to say? You said something that made me think of something, and I know. My one question is like, how are all of their voices so low?
I don't know. I don't
and I'm not saying that in a critical way at all. It's just, is that like a genetics thing? Is that like
I don't know.
Hear someone speaking that way, so you kind of like make your voice that way? I don't know, but all of them have very
Melania is the one that has the lowest voice. It's like wild. I don't know. I ask myself this often, like, why is her voice like that? But I don't know.
Yeah, and that's not me like criticizing or judging. It's pure curiosity of like, how they all end up with this low voice?
I truly don't know. What I do know is that Louie's backyard made me want a pizza oven. Ooh. It looked great.
Yeah.
All of that food looked great. They were cooking in the kitchen, and I was just, first of all, I'm just happy that Teresa's happy. I know that there's a lot of like shade going on about Louie, and the men actually had a lunch and they talked about it in the video, and they were kind of making fun of him. But like I don't want to get Brooksed by it all, you know? And I can see that things could be potentially like heading in that direction. But for now, I just hope that it works out for her, because she's been through so much and they just seem like a nice couple. So hopefully it lasts. We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't turn into a scary situation for her.
Well, so speaking of scary, did we get to a fist fight at the end of this, or was it close?
Well, so, okay, I guess, yeah, we should get to that part, right? So essentially at this frat party, there's this faction that's like pro Margaret and then pro Jen, or just supporting Jen and thinking that Margaret is wrong. And Dolores is kind of like riding the line. So originally she said that she was on Jen's side and that what Margaret did was wrong. Then she found out that Jen was asking Frank and then some other girl in Tenafly, New Jersey about Evan and the supposed mistress, didn't find anything. And that like totally made Dolores flip. And since then she's just been super cold. And she's kind of like she's almost like the flip vote, it feels like here. Like there's a group for Jen, it's like Teresa, it's Jackie, it's Tiki Barber's wife. What's her name? Taylor?
Good
Tracy?
question.
Tracy?
I have no idea. I'll find it.
I had it. It was in my head and I was like, I'm going to remember this. And I don't remember it. But
Tracy. It is
Tracy. Okay. It was something with a T. So yeah, it feels like that group is kind of like rallying around Jen to try and say like, you know, I feel for you. This is terrible. You know, as the normal people would. What Margaret did was not okay. And then there's this other group, Melissa, Dolores to an extent, Margaret, obviously, who are like, yeah, well, Jen's a total hypocrite, blah, blah, blah. But what they're not understanding is that Margaret is the one who cheated in her relationship. Jen is not. That would make her a hypocrite. If it came out that Jen had an affair, that would be equivalent. But it's not. She found out something terrible when she was about to have a baby. And like, how are we now weaponizing that information against her? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't see how they can like rationalize this as the same thing, because it's not the same thing. So whatever. But Dolores and Jen had a conversation, and Jackie was involved, and Jen pretty much was just like, it doesn't feel like you're my friend. Like, you're not really supporting me. There was like a throwback to the episode last week where she was like crying, and she was like, you know, it's not weak that I'm crying. And she pretty much said, Jackie also thinks that you're not being a good friend to me. So then Jackie comes over and then they get into it. And Dolores starts saying something to Jackie like, I'm not listening to this, and starts calling Jackie this, and not saying her, not saying Jackie. She just calls her this. And Jackie's not having it. And you know what I say? Good for Jackie. Dolores really throws her weight around, and she's a little scary. I would be probably scared of Dolores, but Jackie was not. And Dolores just got right in her face, and then it seemed like a fist fight started, but then we got the to be continued. But I'm really glad that Jackie stood up for herself in this moment, because she and Dolores have had issues in the past, slight issues, not anything serious, but Dolores has said a number of times, she wasn't raised like us. She's different than us. She's not like us. She's not raised the same way. Jackie's Jewish. There's been a lot of like conversation around like, is it because she's Jewish and they're Italian? Like, it's just like, you know, there's like a little bit of like ickiness surrounding it, but it's never been like confirmed that that's what she's talking about, but there are undertones. So I'm really glad that Jackie stood up for herself in this moment, because every season it feels like she's kind of been a punching bag. And it feels like this season she's like, no, I'm not going to be a punching bag and I'm going to stand up for myself. And people don't usually stand up to Dolores. So I'm just happy that she didn't take it. And I generally like Dolores. This season, she's not really doing it for me, but normally I do like Dolores.
I thought it was interesting when it was Margaret that came up, and Margaret just straight up said, she's like, no, Dolores, you're definitely being a better friend to me than you are to Jen. Like, while I guess defending her closeness with Dolores, also just completely railroaded her, like threw her under the bus. And that kind of like incited things even more.
Margaret, it's unfortunate that she is taking such a turn, because she used to be so great. And it seems like she's got a little bit of, I don't know if it's like the Dorinda syndrome in her, or there's something in her that just like turns her into this villain. And now it's like, I can't stand by anything she says. I think she's just being horrible. And it's unfortunate, because I've typically really liked Margaret a lot. She was one of my favorites, and she's just plummeting. Her stock is plummeting for me.
And that's really where we end, right?
We ended a to be continued and some pushing and shoving. I'm sure it'll end up nowhere, as the fist fights do. They usually end up nowhere, but it was a pretty exciting way to end the episode.
Speaking of fist fights, I just got to the episode of Atlanta where they were in Miami and Tammy's nephew like comes back.
Oh my God, that was a wild episode.
How is anyone, I'm hoping that it comes back up at the reunion, like how is anyone trying to tell Kenya that she was like doing too much in that?
I do not know.
How do you not see this man's hostility that quickly? Sorry, I had to bring it up. Like fist.
No,
that made me
true.
Think of it because I watched it this morning. So it's like, oh yeah, speaking of Real Housewives fist fights, like that one was like for real. I thought he was gonna try and beat Kenya. Like not even joking.
Yeah, that was a rough one. And I think like just in general, the Housewives of Atlanta like love to villainize Kenya, regardless if she's right or wrong. They just love to like do anything against her. They kind of did it when her and Portia got into it at the reunion too. Like everybody ran to Portia, nobody went to Kenya. So it's just kind of like that's just the trend, which is unfortunate because I actually do like Kenya a lot. And she's right a lot of the time. She's right.
She is. It's Could she like deliver things in better ways? Sure, but that wouldn't make her good TV. Exactly. So yeah, that happened this morning in what I was watching, and I was like, how is anyone like? How is, by the way,
is that a season with Kim Fields? Okay, yeah.
What a waste of a housewife. Oh my God.
Yeah, she didn't know what she was getting herself into. Her genuine sweet soul.
Show her like a season beforehand when she's all like, she even was offended when they were in Washington D.C. like doing things that are like positive and political. Like this isn't meant for an I don't know. I was rough casting. I mean, the thing is, like, they didn't even need her. They could have like filmed that whole season. They could have just filmed her or like edited her right out of it. She had
or she could have been a friend of or something. Yeah. Confusing.
The fact that they brought her on, this is sorry, Tootie, you're not for me.
Yeah.
I don't think she was really for anyone. I'd seen on a thread like who was like the worst casting decision, and someone had said her, but I didn't like know who she was. I just like for whatever reason. When she got introduced this season, I'm like, oh no. I remember her name coming up on Reddit.
Yeah. I can think of at least like 3 housewives that are worse than her, but she's up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Atlanta, is Cynthia does she have potential to win Celebrity Big Brother?
So there's been a lot since we last spoke happening on Celebrity Big Brother. Cynthia and Carson Kressley have just made such a mess of things for themselves because Carson and Cynthia are like very close knit. They're like a 2 with each other. And since we spoke last time, I know I was like, oh, Cynthia's doing really well and Carson just won HOH and things are looking up for them. It all crashed and burned because Carson put up his closest ally, Shayna Moakler, who was the only other person that could win a comp because Todrick Hall and Misha Tate, I don't know, UFC fighter, kind of just like totally snowed them and made them think that Shayna was against them and playing both sides. And they ate out of their hands. So they actually evicted their own ally. And now it's Carson and Cynthia alone on the side. Carson just went home. He got evicted. And Cynthia is there now with Todd Bridges and Lamar. She is going to be on the block, I believe, because Todrick just won HOH, put up Todd and Lamar. So Cynthia's safe, but now Todd won the veto. So Cynthia's going to go up, but I don't think she's going to go home. I think Lamar is going to go home. And tonight, with evictions tonight, we have a double eviction. So we don't know what's going to happen with the double, obviously. So we'll see. I think she has a shot depending on who, like if Todd Bridges wins HOH in the double and Misha, he puts up Misha or Todrick, then Cynthia could definitely go to final three. It's just a matter of if that happens. I do think that she has a chance to win though if she gets to the end, because everybody on the jury hates Todrick Hall and Misha. So they will vote for anybody up against either one of them. So she could win it. It would be kind of a disaster because she doesn't know how to play the game and she's been terrible the entire time. She's been with Carson and Carson's been good, and Shayna Mokler was really like guiding them and they were on the right side and we were all rooting for them, and then they became the villains very quickly because they turned against Shayna and they were saying just terrible things about her and how she dresses, and it was pretty gross actually. Really disappointed in Cynthia and her actions in the house.
Oof.
Yeah, but out of everyone,
I wanted to hear.
I know things took a turn. Like the day I think that we recorded last time, I think that night things really went sour right after I was like, Cynthia's great. Things really went sour. And she became the ultimate housewife, Cynthia, where she's just stubborn and she doesn't listen to people. And Shayna was trying to explain herself and she was just talking over her and just not hearing her whatsoever. And now she's just bashing her and making it very personal and saying kind of gross things. So it's pretty disappointing. So I'm rooting for Lamar Odom, even though he's going home tonight, unless something miraculous happens and he doesn't go.
I thought I saw on Twitter that he was like kind of lobbying for himself to go. Was he?
I think he has been. I think he did like a week ago too. He just hates Todrick Hall so much that he doesn't want to be around him anymore, which can relate. That's why I'm no longer really watching or paying much attention to what's going on other than via Twitter.
Yeah, that's kind of how I've been following the whole season. Yeah. All right. Well, Todrick Hall apparently sucks. I have to talk to Taylor Swift and ask why she's friends with him and get her set on the straight and narrow. But I think we've covered all of our universe for this week.
I think so too.
Sweet. Well, what are you doing on the internet these days, Katie?
Same as always, you can find me at Real Slim Katie on Twitter, and you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Real Slim Katie with an _. Haven't really been there much this week. Been taking a little bit of time to myself. We lost a good friend of numerous communities that some of us are a part of this week, so just been taking a little bit of time. But I'll be back next week, and yeah, you can catch me there.
I am sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
That I've seen it all over the timeline, so you can tell that this person definitely had a positive impact on the people around them, and it sucks losing someone who is so influential. Yeah, it does. Definitely sad. I am on Twitter. I don't know what I'm doing on Twitter these days. I can't remember, but I'm sure it's nothing important. So you can follow me there. Yeah, I'm just basically tweeting about my air fryer. My air fryer tweet got like more likes than I have. It sucks being private right now. I'm like, oh, this one has retweetability. I know. Isn't that rough? Yeah, and it's like, oh, goddamn, looking for another job. But anyway, so I'm there and I'm on Instagram, KGD26, where you can see my dog who is a little under the weather today, but that's all right. Yeah, Nitro is, dude, when he sleeps, he rips some stinky farts, but today was a whole new level. I was like, bro, are you trying to kill me? Like, what did I do to you? But I think his stomach is upset again. But we'll be fine. We'll be fine. He's a warrior. He's sleeping on the beanbag next to me right now. Aw. And we are all over social media. So you should be following us. You should be following us on YouTube, Silent Podcast, Twitter, Silent_Podcast, and Twitch, Silent Podcast. So you're able to watch us live on there. You can comment along. We regularly integrate our comments that we get into that. We are also starting up a whole bunch of shows soon. So we've got Top Chef coming up. We are doing some Australian Survivor coverage right now, Amazing Race coverage right now, some Saturday morning cartoons. Once Survivor picks up, which is soon, right?
Very soon, yeah. March 9th, I think.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure we'll be covering that. So basically, like, all your
Big Brother Canada's coming soon.
Yeah.
Next week. So there's no time off from this reality TV that we've got going on here.
Yeah, so if you're looking for a place to, further dive into the content and listen to people talk about it, then you found us. We're here. Listen along. We will obviously be back next week. We'll have the first week of the Salt Lake City reunion. We'll have Orange County. We will have New Jersey. And we will see if Cynthia somehow manages to escape this double eviction tonight.
Yes, we will.
But until then, enjoy your week. I hope you have a better week than the episode of Orange County we just watched, which sets a low bar. It sets a very low bar for you. So it means you have to have a good week in comparison to that.
Exactly.
Setting you up for success right now.
Yes.
Look at us go.
Yes.
All right. But until then, we are here on behalf of Silent Podcast. We're anything but silent, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.